as laid back as these days can be, they also get real busy. And it seems like there's a cluster of things that happen all at the same time. It's funny. I don't know why that works that way, but seems like the phone rings 3 or 4 times from different people all within the same 5 minute span. And there's things that are scheduled all at the same time. So it must be something the way the universe works.
Yeah, it's got to be. It's good. If you follow the things that the Grant and I follow, the Master Grant and I follow, I mean, we're staunch Roman Catholics, but the universe is always trying to keep a balance.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
At least that's the excuse we use whenever things like this happen. We can't figure out why. We always say the same thing because you're an instructor, you're a master. You have to come up with a reason, right? Well, the universe is looking for balance. It's as good as anything.
I think it's true. I mean, if you look at the way nature works, there's always something that balances one thing out and another thing out. There's, the soil never gets too acidic, the soil never gets too base. There's always something that kind of mixes in enough to kind of keep things so that plants grow and trees grow and life continues to exist on this planet. So that's just a small example, but yeah, there's balance here. It's always, it's always finding a balance.
Yep. Always.
So, and speaking of trying to find a balance, we've been on tilt for a while in this country, maybe 3.5+ years, and we've had some people kind of trying to strike that balance here. Did you see President Obama's smackdown of Mitch McConnell and Trump today, or within the last maybe day?
Yeah, we saw something. You know what? But before we really get into the meat of that, and folks, if you haven't seen it, just get up on YouTube and look at it. Frank and I are going to talk about it here in a couple of minutes. But the one thing that I wanted to say as a side note, just because you can tell that he's been really looking forward to getting back into doing this thing for a long time. I mean, there's a spark and an energy about him. I mean, even though it is just a YouTube video, right? It's just and I believe it's just a fundraiser for Biden's his campaign is, but that's what these guys do. He's a surrogate now, so that's what he's going to do. But boy, you could see just some enthusiasm there and a little bit of giddy up. I think he's been waiting a long time to start getting into the race and start doing a few things.
Definitely. And, I mean, let's face it, there are going to be people that hate that he said this. There are going to be people that, attack him. But there's a lot of people that are going to look and say, look, I voted for that guy. If he's telling me this, he knows he was a president. He knows what's going on. He sees what's going on with the world. He sees what's going on with our country. And I think it has some meaning. It's better than just staying silent, I think. Because you can see that he cares about what he's talking about. He seems to convey a concern and care for the people of this country, and that's not what's a priority for Trump and McConnell. And he's conveying that message pretty clearly.
Yeah, it's you watch, and this is the second video of his that I saw. I saw the first one whenever he endorsed Joe Biden. Then I saw this one, and I guess this one is actually like a week old. And we just noticed it this today actually. But I mean, if you look on YouTube, it was put up April 15th.
Yeah.
But you listen to him, and like I said, he's stomping for Joe Biden. So the message is a little different than you're used to hearing from him, but just the vibe that you get from this guy, you feel a decency and a legitimacy about him that I think has been lacking for a very, very, very long time.
Out of the leadership that we have right now. Yeah. And, the thing is, people want to watch this. It's a 3-minute video, just over 3 minutes. It's a pretty short one, which is good because people's attention spans are short. And,
No, they are. Yeah.
it's easier to watch a 3-minute video than a 30-minute video for sure. We do that with our kids in soccer. We wanted to do we wanted to pick the best video for offensive possession and working together as a team. Guess who we picked? Just take a wild guess if we're looking at a possession video in soccer. What team do we look at?
Oh, Barca.
Absolutely. What years do you think it was from? Take a wild guess as to what years.
Oh, geez. I want to say, was it the Pep Guardiola years?
Yeah.
Or the Cruyff years? Because, I mean, so you're talking you had a midfield of Xavi and Iniesta. Well, no, Ronaldinho.
Xavi was there, though. Yeah.
Yeah, Xavi, Iniesta, I don't think moved up yet, or he was coming off the bench. So you had was Puyol still on the back line? Him and
Yeah.
Okay, and what about what's his name? Was he still at United, or did he come back? Shakira's husband.
Oh, Piqué.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was there.
He was there too.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Some of those years I get a little messed up.
Yeah, he was there, and it was great, because you see that kind of controlled chaos. That they know where each other's going to be all the time. The ball's pinging around the field, so much possession, and it's clear that they've worked together so much on those kind of plays and little runs, and they're short little passes, tiki-taka, as you know. But the point is, we had originally looked at a 30-minute long video. We're like, these 14-year-old kids aren't going to sit through a 30-minute video. So we cut it down to 10 minutes. But that's what this video is good for. It's a 3-minute, real quick hit, but it gives you a lot of, highlights. And I think it's important also because we talked a little bit about how there's going to be a lot of attacks on Biden. And one of the attacks that I just saw was a mashed up, cut up video from the Trump reelection campaign, where it has a bunch of 4 or 5 clips. One of the clips was when he was talking about the what was it called? Corn puff. Remember the corn puffs speech?
Oh, yeah.
Pop or corn puff or whatever. And he's talking about this black guy who was going to beat him with a chain or something like that, and how these were sitting on his lap. Well, then they have superimposed, watching this video, African-American men sitting around, and Obama's head on some African-American's face going like, what? So they're trying to attack his credibility in the African-American community by replaying this old speech. So I think it's really important that Obama comes out and shows that there's really no concern here. This is not an issue. So obviously working together for 8 years on a lot of the important issues in African-American communities, the proof is in the pudding. You can say silly things. You can be a little bit off sometimes in the way that you speak and things like that, but you see the works that the man did, and that's made him worthy of the support.
Yeah, and let's face it, that is one community, and probably the only community, who really, really, number one, pays attention to everything going on, and number two, doesn't forget.
Right.
Okay. And with his numbers and his not really popularity, but his approval rating as high as it is in the African American community, I see this thing just being a dud. I really do. I can't see anybody looking at this and saying, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that."
Right.
These folks don't forget.
No. So I think that the uphill battle that Trump is facing within the community of color is something that he's going to more than likely lose. There's a strategy in place to try to divert votes away from the Democrats in certain key states. There's a lot of strategies. There's a strategy of suppressing votes. There's a strategy of taking votes away. And one of those possible ways to take votes away in the state of Michigan emerged today. Justin Amash, who is a libertarian, but has been voting with the Democrats most of the time recently, and has been very outspoken against Trump in many, many instances on Twitter. However, it's pretty clear that if he were to run as a third party candidate, he would more than likely pull a lot of the never Trumper Republicans votes in Michigan.
Yeah, when I saw that today, my gut reaction was, oh shit, because I just saw a third party, right? And so, the ghost of Jill Stein is coming back. But then I saw who it was, and I saw, his history, because at this point, if you don't know who he is, well, it's going to take you 2 minutes to Google and find out where he stands and how he votes and what his party is, and so on and so forth. And I said, wait a minute. At the end of the day, this guy tends to be more along the lines of the rank and file old school Republicans. I'm not saying he is. I'm saying he's about as close to the old school Reagan Republicans as you're going to get. Well, more like Bush Republicans. But that, I'm still trying to figure out how that hurts Biden at all, right? Because don't forget, you're talking about a president, a sitting president right now who, okay, number one, lost the popular vote, but a lot of that vote was in California, so that's kind of lost. Those are lost votes anyhow, because it doesn't matter how many votes over the threshold he gets the same amount of delegates.
California and New York, principally.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, there's that argument to be made, but you look at the small, tiny little margins that Trump won by in key states. This is not as big a problem for Biden. I can almost see them looking at him as an asset than as a hindrance.
It's interesting.
A lot of Republicans.
It's interesting because I think that, I wonder if that's you have to wonder if that's part of his exploratory committee. He hasn't said that he, in fact, is 100% running. He said he's going into an exploratory committee to find out if a run would be viable. And he's like, let's do this. Let's find out. Right. So if he does, in fact, go through this exploration, is that part of the process to see what impact his run will have? Will it be an impact of taking votes away from Biden, or will it be an impact of taking votes away from Trump? And if that, either one of those things show to be the case, does he make his decision based upon that?
Yeah, I think that, I first of all, let's back this up for a second. I don't understand why he announced that he's launched an exploratory committee. Right? I mean, I don't quite understand that one to begin with. If you're going to run and you're going to be the third party candidate, pre-publicizing this is kind of silly, don't you think? I mean, you'd think you would do that and then sit there and say, okay, I got the data, I can make a run, or I got the data, it's not going to make any difference. And then if the data is favorable, sit there and say, yep, here we go, folks, I'm announcing I'm running. And if it's not, then you just be quiet and just go along your way. And that's that. I don't understand why he decided to announce he's exploring it. That's different.
Well, and the other thing is, we are kind of late in the game. We're pushing into May. There are no other candidates in the Republican or Democrat field that are going to win the primaries enough to get the nomination. So we're at a point where you have to have some name recognition. You have to have some money behind you. And I think that with him, the question that a lot of folks that are maybe concerned about his motives is, where's his money going to come from? If his money's going to come from Betsy DeVos, where he used to get a lot of his money, then you have to wonder, clearly, is this an opportunistic type thing to say, let me get back my funder? Because she used to be a big funder of his. But when he started bad-mouthing the president, and legitimately bad-mouthing the president, she pulled a lot of her funding.
All of a sudden, went away, huh?
Yeah. So is this his way to get back in good with her and say, I'll help your guy out? Let's be friends again. Or is there some other money backing him? And I don't know, until we find out who his big backers are, that's going to be a key, I think, linchpin to this is who's putting the money up.
Well, let me ask you this one then. Let's just assume let's assume innocence, because and I'm saying that intentionally because I don't think that there's anything innocent about what he's doing. Let's assume innocence. Who could possibly be backing him? Who would have the money if he's doing this exploratory panel or whatever you want to call it? That means, in essence, he's looking for money. He's looking for donors, right?
Right.
You're going to get the is it Jeff or John Conways of the world supporting him? They've already thrown their hats into Biden.
Right.
Koch brothers, there's no fucking way they're going to not bump back Trump. Hell, Trump's making life grand for, well, one of them, the other one's dead. Who's he? What's his name? The guy in Vegas. I can't think of his name. The older guy. He owns just about every other casino in
Wynn.
On the
Steve
strip.
Wynn. Steve
Might
Wynn.
be. Maybe. Yeah, I honest to God, I can't remember his name. But he's probably a Trumper too. Where's his money going to come from? And that's Putin's good money.
Yeah, it's a good question, and I think that when you get the answer to that, we'll kind of know what his motives are. Yep. And it's always the way, right? Follow the money. So, yep. And we'll see if it goes anywhere. But at this point, there's probably a couple months left, 2 to 3 months, for somebody to make a splash in the third party candidacy. After that, it gets to be pretty much peeing into the wind. Yeah, peeing into the wind. So,
yeah.
But
let me ask you something, Frank. Just I don't mean to interrupt you, but just let's say he finds a donor or 10 or 20. It doesn't really matter. Let's just say he finds a revenue source. I know legally they can't do it, but do you think there are little loopholes, little things here or there where they can somehow start pocketing some of the money that they don't spend, or that is left over whenever they say, well, you know what, we gave it a shot, it's not going to work, we're going to suspend our campaign, and they're sitting on, I don't know, somebody third party might be $500,000.
Well, let's put it this way. Let's say you and I decide we're going to run for office, and I'm going to be your campaign manager.
I like it so far.
I got to get paid, Patsy.
Well, that's true.
So, your donor's money is going to go towards my salary. And if you pay me, a couple $100,000 a year or a couple $100,000 for 6 months, well, if I gift you $50,000 out of that, or $100,000 out of that, it was my salary, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're showing it as my salary to the election commission. I paid all my I paid my people that worked on my election X dollars out of my donations that went to their salaries.
Yeah.
That's one way to kind of legally pocket that money.
So even if we're looking at something as nefarious as just making money, I'll be honest, I'd much rather this the only reason he's doing this is to make a buck, because I don't see any other way a third party candidate does anything unless he's just lining his own pockets.
Yeah.
No.
I honestly think that more people this time are going to pick one side or the other and not go for a third candidate. I really think that.
Yeah, I do too. Just because, I shouldn't say just because we're so parallel or polarized. I mean, we are so much more than we were 4 years ago. Far more than we were then. But people are entrenched and dug in. There's not going to be this third party that's going to come in on a horse with a light shining on him and say, hey, I have the answer to all your problems. That right. No, that's not going to happen. And even if they did, people are just not, they're just not going to vote for somebody because of their political views, and this third party is just going to be ignored altogether.
Yeah. I mean, we know that they're going to try to beat Biden up and try to make him look bad, and then that'll give some people pause, and maybe they're going to try to say, well, I'd rather vote for somebody that doesn't have this kind of baggage. But realistically, that's going to be much fewer this time because there is no Benghazi, there is no chain of emails. Burisma is just as much a stain on Trump as it is on Biden, if it is a stain on Biden at all. Yeah. There's really not much that they can go after Biden with other than the creepy old Uncle Joe stuff that they're going to throw at him. But everything that he is, let's say the word guilty of, Trump is guilty of 10 times more. So all that stuff is just basically like, let's line up the sides and say, I'm going to defend my guy, you're going to defend your guy. Who's going to have the most defenders at the end of the day? That's really what's going to come down to, because at this point in American politics, nobody really cares. People don't care that our president said, I'm going to grab him by the pussy. So all that stuff is out the window. I don't really care. Don't come at me with any of this. Oh, he made stupid comments about kids sitting on his lap, or he touched this girl's hair when he sniffed her hair. I really don't care. I don't care. I mean, do I want somebody better? Absolutely. But I want somebody better than Trump. And the only person better than Trump at this point that has a viable chance is Biden. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yesterday, Lou kind of gave us a timeline of what's her name, the woman that's accusing Biden of
Tara Reid.
Tara Reid.
Tara Reid. Yeah.
And I agree with everything you just said. I completely 100% agree with that. So taking that and taking everything we said before, do you think this whole Tara Reid thing is nothing more than just sticking your toe in the water to see what to test it and see if it gets any traction or not? Because this thing's dead on arrival. So why go through with it unless you're using it as a barometer to test which way people are going to lean or how people are going to react to it?
Yeah, I mean, I think, and it's also one of those things that it gives the Trumpers that might have been slightly wondering about whether they were to continue to support him, the excuse to say, well, I'm not going to vote for that guy because look what he did to that poor girl that was a congressional aide. I think it's going to be a cumulative effect. I really think there's not going to be that one bombshell. They'll try, but there's not going to be that one bombshell about Biden. They're going to try to just cumulatively give enough little bits and pieces. And this is one of those things. So is it a little toe in the water? Yeah, but I think it's more akin to the drip of water. It's like, let's turn this little faucet on and let the water drip, 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 drip. And we're going to give these little drips about him until the election day and see how many people get irritated by that drip.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think this is just somebody or one way of seeing, well, here's a little bit, and then we're going to try to give you a little bit more, and then we're going to try to give you a little bit more, because in all honesty, Frank, if I'm going after somebody and I'm trying to represent Trump, some woman making an allegation is not where I'm going. That's probably one of the things furthest away that I'm going to focus on, because there's just far too much coming back at me if I do this. I mean,
you're right. You're right. And I think that we'll see a different scenario. Let's just revisit it. I think this will be a good study. Let's revisit, where we are each week, every Wednesday. Let's do this, because I just pulled up Tara Reid on Google, on the Google machine. And what came up real quickly is I'm going to just read the headlines and the source of the headlines. And there's let's go through, let's say 10 of them, okay, real quickly. Mm-hmm. CNN from 3 hours ago. Joe Biden's campaign is twisting a New York Times story to defend against the Tara Reid allegations. Okay, CNN, they're excited about having a story about Joe Biden. So they run that 3 hours ago. 6 hours ago, The Hill. The Tara Reid case raises questions beyond Joe Biden. Bad for thee, irrelevant for me is becoming a credo. That was written by the famous Corey Lewandowski. So, yeah. 10 minutes ago, the New York Post ran this one. Joe Biden's campaign tells Democrats to deny Reid allegations. 22 hours ago from USA Today, former staffer Tara Reid says Joe Biden sexually assaulted her in 1993. Here's what we know. Fox News, 2 hours ago, Biden camp using New York Times to fight Tara Reid allegation. Here's what the report actually said. Politico, and I got 3 more just total, including this one. Tara Reid allegations stir Democratic unrest. That was 11 hours ago. 9 hours ago from the National Review, I was just hoping to get a fair and equal treatment. Tara Reid calls out Democrats. Me too. That was 9 hours ago. And Forbes, and we'll end with this one. This is from 1 hour ago. A timeline of Tara Reid's sexual assault allegations against Joe Biden. So there's a lot of folks who have jumped on the story because I think it's red meat. You know, it's one of those things that we're in a slow news cycle as far as election goes. There's no campaign rallies. There's nothing to really bite into. So all these outlets have a headline, and even just from the headlines, is any of that jump out at you as sexy, so to speak?
Yeah, no. I mean, no, none of it does. No.
I mean, it doesn't make me want to click. It's like, you know, there's no clickbait there.
No, there's nothing. And it seems pretty interesting to me how, you know, so many of these places, a lot of these sources that you just rattled off are trying to create something. They're trying to create talk and create buzz, and no one's really jumping on it. No one's pissed off. No one's outraged. No one's upset. No one's, you know, taking it seriously. No one's talking about it. I think, you know, you and I have talked about this more in the last 2 or 3 days than literally anybody or any place else I've seen. This is a nothing. There's nothing here. It's
Right.
just somebody trying to make a buck.
Let's try to remember to look at the headlines next week and see what we can find. See what's trending then.
Yeah, that's really a good idea. We to do that. I think that's a really good idea. What else did we talk about today? We had something else going on here, Frank. We were talking about, oh, did you happen to watch Governor Cuomo just absolutely destroy McConnell and who's that other asshole from Texas? The bald one. Oh, not bald. Well, he's bald. He's bald like I am. He shaves his head, you know, so he's bald like me.
Okay, I can't remember, but I did watch it. It's a much longer video, but it's a great video. It's a great piece of, you know, I don't want to call it theater. It's a great piece of kind of living history in the moment, where a governor of a big state is basically in real time calling out this political division that's being created by Mitch McConnell and these other folks that are kind of riding McConnell's coattails around the statement of not giving blue states bailouts.
Rick Scott, that's the other one. Yeah. I really like how Cuomo's playing this, right? And hopefully not only just Biden on the big stage, but the other Democrats running for Senate are picking up what he's putting down, so to speak, right? Look at how Cuomo talked through this whole thing. It was a page right out of Obama's playbook. This is a we thing. And he even goes on to say, do you see how they're talking about us and them? There is no us and them here. Okay. This virus doesn't look at us and them, right? I mean, he was just absolutely brilliant how he took every one of their talking points and he didn't answer them, or he didn't dispute them or debunk them. He showed it for the idiocy that it is, right? Yeah. And that's what these folks have to do if they're gonna win this thing. And from what I understand, that's what is it Amy McGrath? Is she the one that's going to be McConnell's big rival in the election?
Yeah, she's neck and neck with him. She's right now, I think she has a very good shot at beating him.
She better start paying attention. There's no way I'm a strategist, but she better start looking at how Cuomo's knocking him down and take a couple of notes, because that rung out like, I mean, I wanted to vote for Cuomo at this point, right? I
Yeah,
mean, he was brilliant.
he was. And, I think that the other thing that McConnell has stepped in and he didn't realize he would is you've got somebody like, who I'm not a fan of this guy. I'm going to tell you right now, Peter King, who is a senator from New York, was a Republican senator from New York.
Mm-hmm.
He was pissed, and rightly so, that McConnell would say we're not going to give any money to New York and other states like that. And that's, you're dividing your own Senate and your support within your own Senate when you do something like that. And I go back to Mike DeWine in Ohio. Mike DeWine has broken with the Republican playbook around COVID-19. He has continuously shown that he cares about his constituents. Larry Hogan, a governor in Maryland, has continuously shown that he's concerned about his constituents, not about the party line. So you are, as Mitch McConnell, creating this issue that isn't going to bode well for you within your own party at the end of the day. And let's face it, states like New York and California, which are blue states, they provide most of the tax revenue for the country. And they're the ones that are supporting Kentucky and Georgia and, Alabama
and
Florida. Yeah, and Florida. So if we want to start playing this game, then we could start saying, well, we're going to divert all the money from those states back to their states. We're not giving you any of the money. Okay. I would bet Pennsylvania is fairly self-sufficient, pretty close to probably an even in, even out type thing. Maybe we have a little bit more, but it's, I would bet we're a lot better off than Alabama is in terms of the revenue that we create.
I'm pretty sure that we put in more than we take out.
Mm-hmm.
What those numbers are, I can't tell you, but, and I'm not going to look it up. I don't have any prior knowledge of that. I'm willing to bet you. I'd bet some enough money that my wife would get pissed at me for losing if we took out more than we put in. I would be willing to bet that kind of money. I think that you're seeing people do this stuff, and you're seeing these shitheads talk this way because they too are in this echo chamber, right? The asshole governor of Florida, whenever he was trying to DeSantis, whenever he was trying to explain away his rationale, his reasoning for opening everything up, basically he commented that it was his one of his sources was the media. That was basically he was relying on. Now I'm glossing over this very quickly, but I'm doing it to make a point, so just bear with me a second. The fact is, there was only one media source that was playing down this whole thing, and that was Fox Entertainment. So that's right. The only one that he was listening to. So these guys are all talking in an echo chamber. That's it. And McConnell felt empowered to do this shit, and Rick Scott felt empowered to back his play, because the only thing they listened to is Fox News, because Hannity told him it praised McConnell for doing it the first time. And again, I don't know that. I'm just saying Hannity. It could have been any of these idiots. But they praised him the first time. So Rick Scott jumped on board. He's like, hey, I got your back on this one, so we'll just say it again. And then Cuomo all by himself knocked him out of the park. And he didn't have the luxury of an entire entertainment network backing him.
No. Well, he's too smart for them, and he's got so much common sense, and he knows how to speak to people. He connects with people. Listen, I don't know if you saw it or not, but there was a letter posted on LinkedIn from Andrew Cuomo himself. I'm going to send it to you. Hopefully you can get it in time to maybe post it up. If you can't, no big deal. We'll post it next week. but it was from March 6th, 2020, from a farmer in Northeast Kansas. I don't know if you saw this or not. Did you see this one, Patsy?
I think he read it. If you send it over Discord, I can pop it up right now.
Yeah, I'll try to send it over on Discord
Okay.
here.
If not, no big deal. We can hit it next week or
Yeah,
tomorrow during the normal one or whatever.
yeah, he probably read. It was the guy from Kansas talking about his wife and how she was ill and she only has one good lung, and how he had a few N95 masks from his farming days, and he was sending one of those. He had one to spare, and he was sending it over to the people if they could use it. And I thought that was fantastic. It was, it's also it shows you that it's people that are salt of the earth, people that are working in the field every day, and the connection of a good leader, a strong leader, and somebody that's doing the right thing is still going to connect with people. There it is.
There we go.
Yeah, it's a fantastic letter. And he doesn't say Trump's a liar or anything in the letter. This person, he doesn't attack Trump personally, but he says it's the truth and leadership has been sorely lacking. And he appreciates everything that Cuomo has been doing for his constituents.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Yep.
So this one guy in Kansas, and really, let's be honest, doesn't have any reason to give two shits about New York.
Right.
Right. He really doesn't. It's about as foreign to him probably as anything can be, considering just the stereotypical lifestyle or environment that you associate with Kansas and New York. Yet he found it necessary. He found it important enough to help these folks out. And you did a great job of contrasting that with McConnell and Scott.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. These folks don't get it.
No, and that's why it's going to be their downfall, because the common decency of the human being, the people that are out there working and living every day, that this behavior of McConnell does not appeal to them. It does not appeal to them.
No, it doesn't. Hopefully, because don't forget, McConnell only has to appeal to a majority of people in one state. That's it, right? So his burden is a lot less than Trump's is, right? Or Biden's for that matter.
Right.
But at the same time, his margins for error are a lot smaller too, because everything is just condensed and just laser focused. Whenever it's a senator, I hope that rings out. If I was McGrath, I'd be jumping all over that too.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, I think she's a veteran.
Yes, she is.
I think she's got recent experience in the military. So she's also got the benefit of, an energized electorate that just elected a Democratic governor, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, there's some real startling signs in Kentucky for McConnell, I would say.
Yeah, the only sign that he really pays attention to, and the one sign that hasn't dwindled, though, is the money. Right, his backers he still has all the money that he's had before. It didn't dent him at all. That has me concerned too.
Well, that's a big thing, because the ads that are going to run from now until election day, but it just depends. How strong is that electorate? How strong is the Democratic electorate going to come out on November 3rd in Kentucky? Because this is a presidential election, and a lot of people are very pissed off. So money can buy them a lot of ads. And yes, we know Kentucky can be very conservative, but Kentucky is a coal miner state. There's a lot of Democrats there too. There's a lot of old Democrats there. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I honestly, I think if she can generate the same ads and kind of match him. I don't. It doesn't have to be 1-to-1. It doesn't have, but put enough out where he's not dominating the message. I think she's got a real good shot. I
Yeah.
really do. I don't know if she can match his ability to spend, because I don't know how much money she has. I don't know how much money he has either, other than it's a shit ton.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. He's gonna
So,
he's gonna spend her. There's no doubt. She's been running neck and neck in fundraising in certain quarters. I think the last 2 or 3 quarters she's been neck and neck in fundraising with him, but he's got a bigger war chest by far.
yeah. So hopefully she spends it wisely, and uh what messaging she does get out, she targets the right places, the more populous places, and they're not stupid. They know this thing, Frank. We're on the outside looking in. These folks got this shit down to a science. So let's
Yeah.
hope anyhow. But
Yeah.
that's the one big race I'm really 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 paying attention to.
Yeah. It's most important. I mean, I would say either 1A, 1 or 1A. Listen, Trump needs to lose. We know that. But
Mhm.
McConnell has got to be taken out in terms of being the Senate Majority Leader. So either that has to happen by the Senate being retaken by the Democrats, or McConnell has to lose. The most expedient way would be to see him lose. Then we know he's not going to be a Senate Majority Leader no matter what.
Yeah,
But, as long as 51 Democrats occupy the Senate, he's not going to be, no matter, then at that point in time, he's not going to be the Senate Majority Leader. If he wins
right.
his election, he could come back again if things swing back. But for the next couple of years at least, he wouldn't be the Senate Majority Leader.
Yeah,
So
and whenever he was the minority leader, you saw what a piece of shit he was then too.
So it'd be great to get completely.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see him out. But the thing of it is, Frank, and the part that I it's very hard to be patient, right? Especially like whenever we saw the impeachment thing with Trump. The one thing I kept saying, and the one thing that I kept saying over and over and over again was, I don't want him impeached. I don't want him martyred. I want him to lose. I want people to look at him and say, we've had enough of you. Get
Right.
out. That I want more than anything. I mean, I'd have taken the impeachment. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't have been like, oh, that's a shit move. They never should have done it. But the fact that the Senate wasn't going to vote to convict, we knew that. We knew that going in. And I want him to lose. I want people to tell him no. I want somebody finally to tell this asshole no. We've had enough of you. And I want to see the same thing happen to McConnell too, because he's fucked people over for far too long.
Absolutely. Well, I think that we're finally in a better position to see those things happen. There's no guarantee, absolutely no guarantee, but we are in a much better position to see those things happen this time around than we have been in a very long time. So here's to hoping that, from May until November, we see very futile attempts to try to bring Joe down, and just a continued awareness amongst the electorate in the United States that what they've gotten so far is just a bucket of shit from this administration. So, we're here to call it out. We're here to talk about everything we see with pretty much no filter. And that's what we've been doing, and I've been enjoying it. What do you say we put a cap on this one today?
I think that's a good idea, Frank. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. On all of that. We may be changing the time for this one. You and I are going to talk probably sometime between the time we finish this and next week, to doing just everything at our normal 5:30 slot. There's a couple of things I want to talk to you about that, and see which way we want to go with a few things. But folks, as we always say, thank you for your time. It is very valuable, and the fact that you're spending some of that time with us means a great deal to us. So for Frank and myself, thank you all so much If you like what you see, like what you hear, please support us on Patreon. If you can do so for $1 a month. We need it. It's just that simple. We need it.
I want to purchase something that puts my iPad up like this so that I'm not always looking down at it. So a little bit of Patreon to get me a little stand or something like that. That would be good.
we got to buy Frank and I stand for his iPad. We got to buy Lou something that's going to actually connect. So we got bills, folks. Come on, you gotta help us out. Okay, Frank. To everybody watching and listening, thank you so much again. I know we joke around, but we truly appreciate it. So until next time, thank you, goodbye, and God bless. We'll see you guys.